What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is the CRKT Razzle, clearly modeled after the original. You can actually see there it does say Graham design after the original Graham Razzle. A knife that really, I think, it definitely grabbed my attention. I saw it first on Nick Shabazz's channel, like many did. And at some point, I didn't even realize this that they had Mr. Razzle or Mr. Graham had actually collaborated with Columbia River Knife and Tool to create this guy. So this is a much more affordable version of it, and I am super excited to be taking a look at it. This knife, like many others, was provided by my good friends over at Neeves Knives. Thank you so much, Jared and Kara. If you have not checked out their channel, definitely do. They just recently hit 1,000 subs, and they deserve many more. So if you're not familiar with them, head over to their channel and subscribe. They have some great content. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while or you're brand new, either way, if you'd like to help support my channel and at the same time get your hands on some of my stickers, you can follow the link in the description to my Patreon, have a look around, and then you can join any tier. Any tier will grant you access to my once-a-week Patreon exclusive content, which is really fun. And then I also, at every 10, I do a giveaway that everybody can enter, whether you're just a subscriber or you're a patron or anybody just watching. So I have a new goal at 90. The moment we hit 90, we'll do another one. So if you'd like to help support me and help me reach my goal at the same time and gain access to some cool content, get a sticker, you can follow the link down there and take a look. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. The Razzle coming in at 7 3/4 inches overall. Blade length coming in at about just under 3 1/4. Cutting edge coming in just under 3. That's pretty cool. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1? Rat 1 is coming in at 8.6 inches overall. So this is a big knife, but it's not a long knife. We'll talk about its other size properties here in just a sec. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 is coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. A little bit longer. Very similar in terms of, some of the lines on the handle are similar. The contouring on the handle is similar. It feels kind of the same in hand. The blade shape is obviously completely different, but we have a similar height on the blade there, so that's a good size comparison, I think. How about up against the Benchmade Bug Out? Benchmade Bug Out coming in at 7.5 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. The Para 3 coming in at 7 1/4 inches overall. So this is a thick knife. You can see there the handles they're actually micarta. They're contoured, very smooth out micarta, and that helps with the extra thickness. If they were blocky and they weren't contoured, it would definitely feel a lot more thick, but it is still a thick knife. Let me give you an example here. Up against the Para 3, you can see it's substantially thicker there. Now this way, it's not so bad. Here's two knives that have awkward carry profiles that nobody ever seems to complain about. You can see there both the Para 3 and Para 2 are taller. So if you don't like a thick knife, this may not be the one for you. But not that bad, in my opinion, not that bad at all. Action is fantastic on this guy. It is running on nylon, which a lot of CRKT knives run on nylon. At this price point, I don't really care all that much. The detent is great. It fires hard. This knife has obviously been thoroughly loved by Jared and Kara. It's been resharpened. It's obviously been used hard. And the nylon has held up. Yes, they can warp. They can tear, if something gets in there. That's pretty rare that happens. If you're somebody who does general maintenance on your knives and you don't intentionally try to jam them into areas where, destructive debris could get inside the pivot, yeah, it can happen, but it's pretty unlikely. Hinderer knives survived on nylon washers for a very long time, and many people use their Hinderer knives hard, despite them being super expensive. So that's not that big of a deal, especially at this price point. So let's go ahead and weigh it. We're looking at ATR 13 MOV steel in, I'm going to guess, probably 125 thousandths. Darn it. Just once. Smooth transition with these calipers would be nice. 116,000, so somewhere between 115 and 120 thousandths. I say that because I don't think those calipers are 100% accurate. But then you're looking at pretty thick, contoured micarta. For whatever reason, we're looking at a thicker liner on one side. I don't know that really matters. But we're coming in at 5.86 ounces. That is simply going to be too heavy for a lot of people in an EDC setting. But I don't really look at this as an EDC knife. I look at it as a knife that you would carry around outside, camping, hunting, fishing, on a job site. This is, to me, this is an outdoor work tool. And the reason that's important to point that out is because the type of pants you'd probably be wearing in a setting like that are heavy duty, right? Jeans, cargo shorts, heavy duty. You know, you're not going to be wearing basketball shorts. You're not going to be wearing skinny jeans or khakis, things like that. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. I think that this is okay. There are definitely knives that work well in those more hard use settings that are thinner and do just fine. But I really like the fact that this really fills out the hand. I like it feeling a little bit more robust. So I don't have a problem with that, but some people definitely will. So again, for materials, we're looking at really kind of cool. It's almost like denim and black micarta that's layered. Looks really, really nice. And then we're looking at 8CR13 MOV that has been satin finished at this price point. That 8CR doesn't bother me at all. It's on a lot of knives that you know, a lot of people love in this price range. It's definitely better than some of the bottom of the barrel stuff. You know, the 7CRs, those are the and then there's also, you know, like the hyper budget stuff, the 420Js you get on a gas station knives. So 8CR13 MOV is not a steel that really bothers me. It's going to take a fine edge. It's not going to hold it really for a very long time, but it'll take a fine edge and easy to sharpen up. It's going to be reasonably tough, and it's going to be stainless, which I think is plenty, you know, considering what you're going to pay for this guy. I love this blade shape. That's what attracted so many people to the Graham Razzle in the first place. The you know, the disadvantage is you don't really have a tip. So puncture tasks, not going to work. You still have this corner here, so for opening packages, it's going to be just fine. For your draw cuts, it's going to be just fine. There is a little bit of belly here. It's not perfectly straight, so you have a little bit of belly for some of your slicing tasks, but the main advantage here is that you have a sort of a scraper at tip there. So this is a knife that, you know, if I was still, a long time ago, I worked construction with my dad for years, actually, through college and everything. And I would have carried this every single day on the job site. Absolutely, I love, you know, I don't necessarily need a puncture tip on a construction site. Yeah, there's situations where you might need that, but I could make much more use of this. You have two completely different edges. You can do your cutting test with this part. You can do your scraping test with this part. And let me be very clear about this. This knife was not designed to pry. You should not pry with any knife. I wouldn't even pry with a fixed blade. Some people do, you know, or I wouldn't suggest that you do. Now, I'm going to completely contradict myself and say this is the type of knife where I would probably be okay just voiding the warranty and using it the way that I want to use it. This is a tool of convenience. It's essentially a folding, sharpened scraper / pry bar. And I say that because it has the CRKT, the liner, the thing that keeps the liner lock from disengaging. Normally I complain about that. I'm like, why does that need to be on there? I'm trying to think about how I would use this knife. And again, don't use it this way because it will void your warranty. It is not designed to be used this way. It's probably unsafe, but I probably would I probably would use this knife in an abusive way, given how the blade shape is. And I mean, this flat carries out almost all the way to the tip. This is a strong blade shape. You're not going to snap the tip off of this knife because it's already gone. It literally looks like a knife where the tip was just chopped off. This is, like I said, this has been loved. They've been using it. They've resharpened it. And, you know, this is the type of blade that I wouldn't really care if it was incredibly sharp. I wouldn't, you know, go out of my way to maintain it. I would basically just, it would be a catalyst of division. It would be a thing that I had in my pocket that could divide material, that could maybe do a little, I might use it to chop, I might use it to pry, I might use it like a hammer. I mean, this looks like a tool to me. It's not designed that way. It's designed as a cutting tool. And again, you will avoid the warranty, and perhaps you might even put yourself in kind of a dangerous situation using it in an abusive way. But it's just cool. I really like that a lot. It's got a satin finish. There's some sharp areas. It's going to it's going to grind some of your fingernails away, but I don't know. I mean, if you're concerned with that, you're probably using this knife in it. This isn't an EDC setting knife, on a job site, there are bits of skin getting torn off, just from handling your tools and wood and nails and things like that anyway, so no big deal. The thumb studs are great. They're easy to gain access to. I kind of missed it there, but easy to gain access to. You kind of have to hold it a little bit lower and then fire it like that. You can also, getting your finger in exactly the right place, you can do the reverse flick, so that's awesome. Nice sort of medium heavy detent. Does click into place just fine. Really like that. You can see back here the stop pin. No shouldering, but the stop pin is plenty large. There's also functional jimping up top, so you can really bear down on this knife, if you need to. I can definitely imagine a scenario where I might need to do that. Like I said, the micarta scales are pretty thick. They look nice and they're contoured, so it really gives you, this knife really feels secure in hand. For a knife that I probably would abuse, I'm thankful for the fact that I've got such a secure purchase on this thing. And so for that reason, I kind of enjoy the palm filling feel of those contoured thick micarta scales. They are smooth, so you're fully dependent on the lines to really lock this knife in, but I think the very deep finger choil here is going to do a good job of that, so no big deal. The lock, you'll have to remember when you engage it, you'll have to disengage it. There's always a chance while you're using it, you'll accidentally engage it or accidentally disengage it, which is why I say you shouldn't abuse this knife. You shouldn't use it the way that I'm implying I might use it, but it's something you're going to have to think about. The pivot, I believe, is a T8. We're going to get out my handy dandy Weeabit selector that I get out every single time, just to let you guys know. This is down in the description. There's a link for this, as well as a lot of the knives that I show every single day in this channel, whether they're expensive or they're budget knives, different brands. Everything's categorized out. Whatever your itch is, there's definitely something down in my description for everybody, so check it out. Scratch that itch. Let's see here. There's T8. So put that in there right there. These are excellent tools for knife maintenance and disassembly, and they're very inexpensive, like extremely inexpensive for both of these. Yeah, that's a T8 pivot, and I'm going to guess the body screws are going to be T6. Yeah, those are T6 body screws. You guys know what I think about T6. Literally, it's the same thing every single time. Don't like T6, not a deal breaker. Wish everything was T8. There's some aesthetic lines down here. I don't feel like they're really doing anything to lock me in, but they're there. I give or take it. I don't really care that they're there. You have 3 standoffs, 1, 2, 3. Probably could have done just fine with 2, but okay, there's 3. There's a little lanyard hole. You can squeeze some 550 through there. I don't know why one of the liners is thinner than the other one. It probably has something to do with the pivot hardware, or perhaps the locking mechanism back here. I don't know. It doesn't really matter all that much. The standoffs are going to do their job. You do have positions for the pocket clip, tip down, tip up, right. It looks like right hand only on this guy. I would still go tip up carry, but given that this is not a flipper, it's fine. Those of you who like to carry it tip down, no big deal. Pocket clip has some speed holes in it. Not sure why it needs those, but it's otherwise, a pretty well-designed pocket clip. I think it goes okay with the knife. Obviously, the black paint is going to wear away. Doesn't have much of a bill, but at the same time, it's going to get nicely over your pants, and it's very easy to, put away and pull back out. I will say the thumb studs catch your pocket a little bit in this position, so perhaps it's better, in my opinion, it might be better to carry it that way. What is this screw right here? Is that just holding the scale on? I guess so. I don't know. Centering on this guy is off, and it is rubbing, but this knife has been very thoroughly used. Now, I tried to crank on the pivot just a little bit to see if it would come back, and it didn't. At some point, I need to do a tutorial on how to center a blade. There is a trick between the pivot and body screws and how you tighten them, and you kind of use a piece of paper to wedge in there. I'll do it sometime. I'm sure I could get this blade back to center, but you know what? If it comes off center but not rubbing, it's not a problem. Obviously, any knife that is rubbing when you get it should be sent back and replaced. If it's not rubbing and it's under I don't know. Honestly, I've paid, my Manix 2 came not centered, my PM2 came not centered, and those are well over $100. But it doesn't bother me under $50. It bothers me a little bit under $150. It's not the end of the world. Anything over $150, it better be centered. Yeah, if this comes off center, no big deal. It just shouldn't be rubbing. Easy access to the liner lock. This knife does lock up solid. No blade play up, down, left, or right. And the liner lock is still engaging at, looks like only 40%. So that's great. So, like I said, on the downside, this knife has some T6 body screws. It's a little bit thick. There's no tip. It's not going to be an excellent slicer, but it would make an excellent utility tool. And the best thing about this is you can get your hands on a Graham Razzle-esque knife for about $35 is what this thing comes in at. For my Carta and ATR 13 MOV, and you know, decent fit and finish. It's not perfect. It's probably going to be off-centered. Everything else lines up correctly, and there's no blade play. You know, this is a knife that, like, if you've got somebody in your life who really works hard outside, or they go hunting, camping, fishing, or they work on a construction site on a regular basis, this is a very recommendable knife. In fact, despite some of its quirky features, I'm definitely going to recommend this knife. This is really cool. And there's a mini version of it too. You can check out. I'll include both of them. I pointed over here. Down here, I will include this and its little brother down in the description so you can pick it up for yourself if you want to. I think these are super cool. I just really, really like them. And I'm okay with overlooking some of the stuff that I wouldn't normally overlook. Just keep that stuff in mind, guys. This is it's a bulky knife, it's a heavy knife. You know, it's gonna do well in some settings and not well in others. So anyways, definitely gonna go on my most recommended knives playlist, as well as my cheap knives I like playlist. Guys, that's gonna be pretty much it for today's review. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.